Bruchim Aboyim B'Shem Irgun Shir Torah. Moses Boston, I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's shir. I'd like to give a big shekach to our Moshe Weiss for sponsoring tonight's shir. I'd like to remind the Olam that Irgun Shir Torah relies on the support of the Tzibur sponsoring these shiurim to continue bringing these to the public, to the Tzibur who comes here in person, the men in the main show, the women upstairs and downstairs, and everyone listening on the phone and watching through the live streaming. We rely on all your support, so anyone is able to sponsor a shir and help us continue with our Basis Torah Derabim. Call Irgun Shir Torah 718-851-8651 or email tapecenter@yeshivanet.com. Tonight we have the cover to Ahavas once again of Daniel Glatstein, Shlita, Rav Kehillas Ahavas Yisrael and Cedarhurst to discuss the secret of Shiva Assar Bahamas and Bein Hametzarim. My cover to corner of Glatstein for tonight's drasha.
Thank you, Rabbi Deutsch, for the warm introduction. Shkoch, Rabbi Bald, again for inviting me back. I believe this is the third year, so now there's a chazaka, so now you're stuck with me. So I want to speak about a day on the calendar that very little is known about this day. Much is spoken about Tisha B'Av, but very little about Shiva Assar Bahamas. The Mishnah says in Masechta Tainis that there were 5 tragedies that occurred on Shiva Assar Bahamas. And if you take a look on your sheets, we quote the Gemara Masechta Tainis. It's the Mishnah, Daf Chavav Amud Aleph going on to Chavav Amud Beis. The Mishnah says, Chamisha Dvarim Iruas Avisenu B'Shiva Assar Bahamas. 5 tragedies occurred on the 17th of Tammuz. It's on the second sheet, number 1. The Chamisha B'Tisha B'Av. What happened on Shiva Assar Bahamas? B'Shiva Assar Bahamas Nishtabru Haluchos. The Luchos were broken. So that historically, we know that when that occurred. When Klal Yisrael was in the Midbar, Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai on Shavuos. He went up for 40 days. He came down on the 40th day. He was about to give Klal Yisrael the Luchos, and lo and behold, Klal Yisrael was worshipping the Egel. So Moshe Rabbeinu took the Luchos, and he broke the Luchos. Bear in mind that Chazal tell us that when Moshe broke the Luchos, Nishtakcha HaTorah. Ilmoloi lo nishtabru Moshe's HaLuchos. Had Moshe not broken the Luchos, there would have been no concept of shikchas haTorah. You would have learned, it would have gone in one ear, and it would have remained in the hollow between the right ear and the left ear. But now we learn, say Chazal, and it goes in one ear and rather quickly out the other. That was the repercussion of Moshe breaking the Luchos. The Mishnah continues, Ubatel hatamid. The carbon tamid ceased. When did the carbon tamid cease? So it's a machlokes in the Yerushalmi. Reb Shimon says, in the time of the Greek occupation, Bayesheni. Reb Levi says, the Roman occupation, Bayesheni. The Mishnah continues, V'hufka ha'ir. The walls of the city were breached. When were the walls of the city breached? So according to the Bavli, this refers to Bayesheni, but not Bayes Rishon. Bayes Rishon, the walls were breached when? On the 9th of Tammuz. The Mishnah continues, V'saraf apostomus HaTorah. Apostomus burnt the Sefer Torah. Who's apostomus? The Greek general. Which Sefer Torah? The Torah of Ezra. According to the Tfersel, he burnt all the Sifrei Torah. Behemid Tselem Beheichal. He put up a Tselem in the Heichal. Who put up a Tselem in the Heichal? Some say Menashe, back to Bayis Rishon. So the whole Mishnah is out of order. Chronologically, the list of tragedies that occurred on Shabbat Bahamas are out of order. Maybe it should have first said Nishtabra Haluchos, then Bein Hametzarim Behechal. Why doesn't the Mishnah give us these lists of tragedies in the order that they occurred? And furthermore, it sounds like a random collection of Jewish tragedy. The luchos were broken, the tamid ceased, the walls were breached, the Torah was burnt. It's just a random collection of Jewish tragedy. So let's begin with a very interesting question. In the first haftarah of the Shalosh Paranusa, the first haftarah of the 3 weeks, Yirmiyah sees the following vision. He sees Makel Shakir Aniroya. I see the blossoming of an almond branch, an almond tree. So what's the significance of the blossoming of an almond tree? So Rashi in Sefer Yirmiyah, in the very beginning of Yirmiyah, Rashi writes that Rebbe was telegraphing a message to Yirmiyah, that the almond tree is the fastest blossoming tree. What the Rebbe was telling Yirmiyah was, we're not going to have to wait to see the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. It's going to happen immediately. It's going to be memaher lavoi, like the almond that blossoms immediately. We're good? But then Rashi says, v'divrei Agada, because let's correct the following. No, you're going to see signs, and people are going to say the following expression, which seems to have no basis in reality. The 3 weeks. The 3 weeks. When do the 3 weeks start? So look in the Shulchan Aruch. There's no such thing as 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And besides that, it's not even true. There aren't 3 weeks. There are 3 weeks and 1 day. I mean, it's not rocket science. If Shiva Assar starts on a Shabbos, so Tisha B'Av is a Shabbos, not a Friday. And if Shiva Assar is a Sunday, Tisha B'Av is a Sunday. So it's 3 weeks and 1 day. So what are we doing? We're rounding off. We're rounding off. It's the Zman that we round off. How many days are in the 3? Well, Rashi says an incredible thing. Says Rashi, Umedrash Agada, the shaked, the almond, it takes exactly 21 days for the almond tree to blossom, from Chanata until it ripens into a fruit. So too, the vision of Yirmiyah was that Rebbe is saying 3 weeks are coming, not just 3 weeks, 21 days are coming, 21 days of Puranas, exactly like an almond tree. It's half of a fella. 21 days. There aren't 21 days in the 3 weeks. There are 22 days in the 3 weeks. There never were 21 days. There never will be 21 days. It's 22. So you say, oh, when it comes to gematria, you could be off by 1. There's not a gematria. There's not a remez. Hashem is trying to tell Yirmiyah that this time of the year is a 21-day period analogous to the shaked, the almond. But it's not 21 days. Where did 21 days come from? So it's interesting. The most famous Marsha, Bez Hashem, next week we're going to be by the kever of the Marsha. If anybody wants to join us, we still have room. We're going to see. We're going to be by the kfar of a lot of the people who are speaking out tonight. One of the most well-known Marshas, the Marsha in the Gemara in Bechoros and Daf Ches. Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya. Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya was always the expert to debate the apikarsim and the minim and the heretics. It was always interesting to me. You would think, if you're going to select somebody to debate the Ummah Yisrael, you would want somebody, Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, PhD, MD, DDS, somebody with full credentials. It's interesting. There's only one Tana in the history of Klal Yisrael that never heard one word outside of the Beis Medrash. What do we say in Pirkei Avos about Rabbi Yeshua Chananya? Ashrei Yoladatai, says Rashi, because his mother was makbid from the moment he was born. He should go into the Beis Medrash and his ear should only be koilei divrei Torah. This is who we choose to debate the Chachmei Atuna. He's the only one who could do it. He's the only one who won't be affected. Who's the only one who hasn't been jaded by the notions of the Ummah Yisrael. Only Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya. And one of the very perplexing questions that the sages of Athens asked Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, they asked the following question. They don't understand you could have 2 chickens, a black chicken and a white chicken, and they both give birth to 2 white eggs. So what exactly is the dilemma over here? You could be a black chicken and give birth to a Vaisa egg. Well, what's the problem? So the Marsha explains. the incubation period of the egg is exactly 21 days. By the way, to the hour. I was once invited by my friends, Avsatmer Hasidim. They invited me to be Mekayim in the midst of Shiluach HaKein. So they took me to the Brooklyn Navy Yard. And they knew exactly that the mother laid the egg, and they knew exactly 21 days to like the hour the egg is going to hatch. The bird lays an egg. So what they were asking is like this. There are two 21-day periods of the year. There's a 21 days from Rosh Hashanah to Hoshana Rabbah. There are 21 days from Shiva Assar to Tisha B'Av. How could it be that from one Rebbeinu Shalom, there are 21 days of Rachamim and 21 days of Peronios? What's the Maharsha talking about? There aren't 21 days of Peronios. There are 22 days of Peronios. What's the analogy to the egg? The egg is exactly 21 days. So you say, 22 days? Does anybody say 22 days? Yeah, the Arizal says 22 days. Where does Arizal say 22 days? There's an incredible Ari. The Ari writes in the Shara Kavanos that when you say the first bracha of Shemona Esrei during the Bein Hametzarim, and you say the Yud Kei Vav Kei, you should have the following Kavana. You should have in mind the Oisiyos Koidmais, the letters that precede the Yud Kei Vav Kei. So before the letter Yud, you're mechavin to a Tes. Before the Hey, you're mechavin to a Daled. Before the Vav, you're mechavin to a Hey. Before the Hey, you're mechavin to a Daled. Instead of Yud Kei Vav Kei, you're mechavin Tes, Daled, Hey, Daled. What's the gematria of Tes, Daled? Tes and Daled is 13. Hey and Daled is 9. What's 13 and 9? 22. Says the Ari, when you say the first bracha of Shemona Esrei during the Bein Hametzarim, you should be mechavein to the Oisiyos Koidmos of the Yud Kei Vav Kei, keneged the 22 days of the Bein Hametzarim. So here, Rashi on Yirmiyah says there are 21 days in the Bein Hametzarim. The Maharsha in Bechayrais says there are 21 days in the Bein Hametzarim. And the Ari says no, there are 22 days in the Bein Hametzarim. Let's come back to Shiva Assar for a moment. What happened? What was the first tragedy that occurred on Shiva Assar? We have a pasuk in Tehillim in Parak Kuf Vav. You ready for this pasuk? The pasuk says in number 4 on your second sheet, Vayamiru es kavoidam besavnis shar oichal esav. They exchanged the Rebbeinu Shalom in the image of an ox that eats Esav. What's this referring to? This refers to the Ched HaEgel. They exchanged the Rebbeinu Shalom for the image of an ox that eats Esav. Now there's a problem with this pasuk. The problem is there's an extra word. Why do I need to know what the Egel ate? What do I care what the Egel ate? And if the Egel ate kishka, let's say it says Vayamiru es kavoidam besav nishar oichel kishka, then it would have been a different avera. Besav nishar oichel. I need to know the dietary habits of the Egel. What's the nafkamino? What the Egel ate? Vayamiru es kavoidam besav nishar oichel esav. I need to know that the shar was a vegetarian. That's his problem. But why do I need to know that he only ate Esav? Says the Arizal, the pasuk David HaMelech is not telling you the diet of the Egel. David HaMelech is being megala to us the calendar date of the Egel. Whenever you see this word, you should know this word is a calendar date. Esav, Assar, Shiva, B'Tammuz. Esav is a Rosh Tevis. Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. What day of the year was the Ched HaEgel? Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. So you say this year it's this year it's Shemona Assar B'Tammuz. It's the same thing. Esav Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. By the way, where else in Tanakh do the Psukim speak about the Ched HaEgel? The Gemara in Gittin says on Lamed Vav, the Gemara is describing the state of Har Sinai. And the Gemara says, Klal Yisrael at Har Sinai were analogous to a kala. And when the Rebbeinu Shalom came out to Klal Yisrael and Har Sinai, it was kechatzon hayotzei l'kras kala. So it was, so to speak, it was like a wedding that was taking place on Har Sinai. And Klal Yisrael, instead of being faithful to their chasan, they worshipped the Egel. So what is that analogous to? That's analogous to a kala that's mezana tachas l'chuppah. Says the Gemara in Gittin, aluva kala shazinsa tachas l'chupasa. How insulting, how despicable, how disgraceful it is that if a kala is mezana under the chuppah. Says the Gemara in Gittin, what pasuk in Shir Hashirim refers to Klal Yisrael under the chuppah? Ad shehamelech b'mesibai nirdina sanrechai. While the king was at the party, while the king was rejoicing at his wedding, nirdina sanrechai, we gave off a stench. Says the Roikeach, Ad shehamelech b'mesibai rashi tevais Esav. What's Esav doing here? Again, Shiva Assar Bahamas. By the way, it's very interesting. In this week's parasha, Parashas Balak, so Balak hires Bilam, and the pasuk says, "Vayar Bilam," number 2 on your second sheet. Bein Hashem levarchas Yisrael. V'loy holach kifam b'fam l'kras nechashim. Vayoshes el midbar panav. Bilam looks toward the midbar. What's he looking at in the midbar? Why is Bilam gazing at the midbar? He's honing in. He's zooming in. He couldn't use the kishuf. He couldn't use the witchcraft. So he's zooming in. He's honing in on a certain episode. Says Targum Unclus, V'shavi lo kavel egla da'avadu Yisrael b'madbara. Bilam's honing in on the egel. He's looking at the egel. It's no coincidence. Every year we lay in Parashas Balak as the hakdama to the 3 weeks. Why? Because what precipitated the 3 weeks was Shiva Assar Bahamas, the Ched Egel. That comes from Bilam. It comes from the ayin of Bilam. Bilam is gazing at the Ched Egel. Why is Bilam so interested in the Ched Egel? So it's interesting. The Ari says, who made the Egel? Bilam sent his 2 children. The Arizal says, if you take a look at number 5, Yunus v'Yumbarus. In fact, Targum Yonasan ben Uziel says the 2 Ne'orim of Bilam that he went with were his 2 sons, Yunus and Yumbarus. They snuck into the Machane Yisrael. They were responsible for the making of the Egel. So Bilam is looking at the Egel. He wants to shep a little nachas. He says, Baruch Hashem, I raised 2 wonderful boys, a chip off the old block. They're following in my footsteps. We know Bilam had Talmidim, right? We say in Perkei Avos, Ayin Gavoya, Nefesh Shechava, Mitamidav Shabilam Harasha. These are my prized Talmidim. They did what they had to do. Bilam was shepping nachas, looking at the Egel. Esav, Shiva Assar Bahamas. Comes the Aruch LaNer, Rabbi Yaakov Ettlinger. Rabbi Yaakov Ettlinger, one of the great old-time Gedolei Yisrael, one of the Gedolim of the 19th century. If you would see a picture of him, you would be very startled. Rabbi Yaakov Ettlinger did not look like your typical Gadol Yisrael. Rabbi Yaakov Ettlinger, actually, many know that he was university educated, but people don't know he was also a dropout, and he could not continue because of anti-Semitism. In fact, until the 19th century, there were no Rabbanim that were college educated in Ashkenaz. After the mid-19th century, almost all the Rabbanon were college educated in Ashkenaz, the Chachmei, including the Aruch LaNer. The Aruch LaNer was also a great makubal, so he combined many, many disciplines. If you want to join us, we're going to be by his kever in a few days. Aruch LaNer says in the Mishnah Masechta Tainis that if you focus on the trajectory of the 5 tragedies mentioned in the Mishnah, Nishtabru haluchais, Batel hatamid, Hufka ha'ir, Sarafes ha'toira, Hametzarim behechal, says the Aruch LaNer in his classic Sefer Minchasani. Says the Aruch LaNer, this Mishnah is not talking about 5 specific events that happened in our history. This is the trajectory of all Jewish misfortune. Nebuch lo yaleinu, if you see someone assimilated, you see a Yid wearing a cross around his neck. Where did it start from? Where does it come from? What's the downward spiral? The first step is always nishtabru haluchais. The Elta Zayda used to learn regularly. The Elta Zayda used to learn with commitment, with devotion. And the Seder stopped. Nishtabra haluchais. The Sidorim slackened off. And maybe the next generation, says Aruch LaNer, Batel hatamid. So that was the Elta Zayda. But the Zayda, minyan every day. Shachris, but not Mariv, not a Mincha. Yeah, Shachris, but only Monday and Thursday. Shachris, but only Rosh Chodesh. But not, I'd never miss on Shabbos. But then Batla HaTamid, Shabbos morning, Shabbos Mevarchim, Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Chanukah maybe. But I wouldn't miss a Yomim Noraim. And then it's only Tkiyah Shofar and only a Ne'ilah. I used to be in a shul. For Ne'ilah, we had over 500 people in the shul. And at Tkiyah Shofar, with the departing of the Shekhinah, so too, people departed. In fact, they wanted me to blow the shofar after Mariv, so at least they would be able, these Yidden wouldn't know. They didn't know when Yom Kippur is over. At least they'll be able to daven a Mariv with the minyan. I said, I don't think you're allowed to fool, the shofar is the shofar. So it starts with Nishtakha HaTorah. It starts with Nishtabra Haluchais. And then the daily mitzvahs begin to cease. And then Hufka Ahoyer. Ir Ketana, it says in Kehillas. The Yid is a city, a fortified city. But once the learning slackens off, and once the daily avodah goes, the city is open prey. And then V'saraf apastomis HaTorah, the Torah goes up in smoke. V'hemed selem behechal. That's the 5-step downward spiral of the history of the Jewish people. But where does it begin? Nishtabra haluchais. The moment Limud HaTorah slackens off, that's the moment where the Yetzer Hara has entered and the spiral begins. Says the Aruch LaNer, we're not commemorating 5 specific tragedies because the Mishnah is not giving them in chronological order. The Mishnah is telling you the 5-step program of the Yetzer Hara. And it always begins with Nishtabra Haluchais. So then what's the Avodah of the 3 weeks? The Avodah would have to be Tikkun Haluchais, Tikkun Limud HaTorah. So let's make a cheshbon. How many days are in the 3 weeks? We're going to have to say 21, like Rashi and Yirmiyah. We're going to have to reconcile what happened to the 22nd day. There are 21 days in the 3 weeks. But are there? What happened to the 22nd day? So let's count the 22nd day for now. How many hours in the 3 weeks? Let's make a simple cheshbon. 22 times 24. 528 hours in the 3 weeks. Gematria Mafteach, key. How many prakim in the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah? Says the Bnei Yissaschar, Ayin b'Mesaras Hashas. At the end of Masechta Bikurim, that the Baal Mesaras Hashas writes, 528 prakim in Shas. Keneged what? The 528 hours of the 3 weeks. Because if the 3 weeks were precipitated by Nishtabra Haluchais, and the Avodah of the 3 weeks is the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, 528 prakim in Shas. But wait a second. The Achroinim ask on the Mesaras Hashas that there are only 523 prakim in Mishnah. Because there are 5 prakim of Braisais. The last parak of Perkei Avos. There's a parak in Psachim of Tosefta. Parak in Kedushin of Tosefta, a parak in Bikurim of Tosefta, parak in Soita of Tosefta. So there are 523 prakim. That's right, says Bnei Yissaschar. Because who is born 5 hours before the end of the 3 weeks? Mashiach. So the first 523 hours of the 3 weeks is Keneged, the 523 prakim of Shas. The 5 prakim of Tosefta are for the last 5 hours of the 3 weeks. In fact, Chazal tell us, Gam ki yisnu ba'goyim ato ha'kabtzeim ein kol ha'goliyos miskansos ela b'schus ha'mishnah. So the whole Geula is conditional upon Limud HaMishnayos. In fact, there's an amazing comment of Likutei Maran, Rav Nachman of Breslov. We're in Chodesh Tammuz. Right? Rosh Chodesh, Tammuz, Tammuz. How could you even say it? Tammuz is the name of Avodah Zarah. It's a Persian god. Why do we call the month Chodesh Tammuz? Why would we name the month after a Persian god? So Rav Nachman says a Dover Noira. What happened in the month of Tammuz? Moshe took the Luchais and he broke the Luchais. What happened when he broke the Luchais? What came to the world? Shikha came to the world. So what's the avodah of Chodesh Tammuz? Tammuz, Zichru, Tairas, Moshe. So you say, but Tammuz is spelled with a Vav. Yeah, you know what that Vav is? Says Rav Nachman. The luchos were vav by vav. But Moshe broke the luchos. And Moshe broke the vav. So that means you don't have to use the vav in the remez, says the Likutei Maran. Furthermore, what else happened in Tammuz? Moshe wanted to give the Torah in Tammuz. It's a Zman for Kabbalas HaTorah. Tammuz stands for Zman Matan Torah Seinu. We weren't Zoicha the first time. But if we're Zoicha during these 528 hours of the 3 weeks, Gam Ki Yisnu B'Agoyim Ato HaKabetzim. Esav. Whenever you see Esav in Tanakh, it's a calendar date. What's the first pasuk of the Haftarah that we're going to read as the Hakdama to the 3 weeks? This week's Haftarah. V'haya she'iris Yaakov v'karev amim rabim. Klal Yisrael will be a remnant among many nations. That's us. Kital me'es Hashem. The dew will fall down from the Rebbeinu Shalom, and it will cause us to flourish. Kervivim, like the rain. Alei Esav. Every single year, we read this pasuk right before Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. Kervivim alei Esav. Because we are hoping that if we're able to make use of these 528 hours, the Rebbe Shem will send down the rain of the Yeshua. And then the Tzoim HaRavi will be L'Beis Yehuda, L'Sasain, U'L'Simcha, U'L'Mayadim Tovim. Esav is a calendar date. If you want to have an appreciation for what Shiva Assar B'Tammuz is, I want to read to you a very mysterious Gemara Masechta Megillah. This Gemara is about Rebbe. 3 practices of Rebbe, Rabbeinu HaKadosh, Rebbe Yehuda HaNasi. It's on your first sheet. Rebbe lived in Sipori, but actually these episodes take place in the city of Tiberia. Amar Rebbe Lazar, Amar Rabbi Chanina. Rebbe Nata Natiya Bepurim. Rebbe, you see, what do people do on Purim? Some people give out Shalach Manas. Some people give out Matanas Avyoinim. Some people like to drink. Rebbe liked to plant a tree. Rebbe planted a tree on Purim. Can you imagine? He had nothing better to do than, it's an arbor. He had nothing better to do than to plant a tree. Why in the world is Rebbe planting a tree on Purim? The Gemara continues. V'rachatz b'kroino shel tzipori b'Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. Rebbe bathed in the wagon in Sipori on the 17th day of Tammuz. Rebbe's taking a bath on Tammuz. Okay? It's important to bathe, you know? Everyone should do so occasionally, once in a while. Why do I need to know that Rebbe did it? Why do I need to know when Rebbe did it? Why would he do this? Why would he do it on a wagon? Why did he do it in Sipori? What does the Gemara say about this little episode? Absolutely nothing. The Gemara doesn't say one word. Why Rebbe did it? Should he have done it? He shouldn't have done it. The Gemara doesn't say the Chachamim agreed with him. They didn't agree with him. We have no comments on Rebbe. Then, Ubikesh Lakar Tisha B'Av. Rebbe wanted to uproot Tisha B'Av. And the Chachamim did not agree with him. Regarding that final detail, that Rebbe wanted to uproot Tisha B'Av, the Chachamim did not agree with Rebbe. And the Gemara asks, we're good? Okay. The Gemara says that the Chachamim did not agree with Rebbe. And then the Gemara says, what was Rebbe thinking? Rebbe wanted to be Oiker Tisha B'Av. How could he try to be Oiker Tisha B'Av? So the Gemara says, what happened was, it was a year like this year. Tisha B'Av came out on Shabbos. And they were pushing off Tisha B'Av to Sunday. So Rebbe said, you know, once we're at it, once we're pushing off Tisha B'Av to Sunday, just get rid of it entirely. We have 3 mysterious practices of Rebbe. Rebbe planted a tree on Purim. Rebbe bathed on Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. And Rebbe wanted to be Oiker Tisha B'Av. Do these 3 things have anything in common with each other? Why did Rebbe do these things? Why would he bathe on Shiva Assar B'Tammuz? Why would he want to be Oiker? I know a lot of people that would want to be Oiker Tisha B'Av. But Rebbe actually was going to be Oiker Tisha B'Av, but the Chachamim didn't let him do it. What's the meaning of this Gemara? Furthermore, you know, one of the very famous psukim in Zechariah about the 4 Tanesim, The Navi Zechariah says, Tzayim HaRavi, Tzayim HaChamishi, Tzayim HaShvi, V'Tzayim HaAsiri, Yeh Lebeis Yehuda, L'Sasen L'Simcha, L'Mayadim Tovim. And the Navi says that the day will come when these 4 Tanesim will be Yomim Tovim. But I was troubled by the fact that the Navi says that not only will these days be days of Simcha, but who will it be days of Simcha for? It will be days of Simcha Lebeis Yehuda. For Malchus Beis David, for Shevet Yehuda. Why is the Navi saying that the day will come that there will be days of happiness for the Beis Yehuda? What does it have to do with the Beis Yehuda? It's going to be days of happiness for all of Klal Yisrael. Shevet Yehuda is not the only Shevet that fasts during the Dalat HaNesim. And they're not going to be the only Shevet that will rejoice la'asid lavoi. Why dafka lebeis Yehuda? So Mar v'Rabosai, we have to go back to a very important pasuk in Tanakh. We have this episode, Rus and Boaz. And Rus doesn't know how to proceed with Boaz. Rus doesn't know, should she ask Boaz to marry her? Should she not ask Boaz to marry her? So Naomi gives her this great idea, go down to the threshing floor in the middle of the night, b'chatzois halayla, and you're going to go there, you're going to uncover his raglav, and he'll let you know what to do. So that's what Rus does. She goes down to the threshing floor, and she uncovers the legs of Boaz. And Boaz says, do me a favor, stay until the morning, and in the morning, Boaz says, go home, I'll keep you posted. So Rus goes back to Naomi. Rus says, what's going to be? Is he going to keep me waiting? How long is it going to take? So Naomi says as follows. Look at number 3. Vatoimer. She says as follows. Shviviti. Stay, my daughter. Ad asher teiden, until you know. Echipol hadavar. Ki lo yishkoid ha'ish. This man will not rest. Ki im kila hadavar hayon. He will seal the deal today. He's not going to keep you waiting. He's going to let you know, adar ya adar nisht, whether he's going to marry you. You're not going to have to wait a day. You're not going to have to wait 2 days, not 3 days, not 4 days. He's going to tell you today whether he's going to marry you or not. Comes the Chassam Sofer. The Chassam Sofer says, how did Naomi know that Boaz is going to seal the deal that day? Maybe he's going to take a week. Maybe he's going to take a month. Maybe he's going to take 2 weeks. How was Naomi so confident that Boaz would seal the deal that day? Says the Heilige Chassam Sofer, we have to understand, when did Rus come to Boaz the first time? The Targum in Megillas Rus says, Rus came to Boaz, Erev Pesach. And how long was Rus going to the field of Boaz? Ad Kalois Ktsir Chitim Ktsir Sa'irim. Until the end of the harvest of the wheat and the end of the harvest of the barley. How long was that? How long is the harvest? Says the Chassam Sofer, 3 months. So that takes you from Erev Pesach to Iyar, to Sivan, to Tammuz. Takes you to Tesvav Tammuz. And Naomi, Rus comes to Boaz Tesvav Tammuz. And she stays overnight until Tezayin Tammuz. And Boaz says, I'll keep you posted. So she goes back to Naomi. So Naomi says, he's going to seal the deal today. You know why today? Because you know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow is Shiva Assar. And in the Malchus Beis David, in the family of David HaMelech, there are 3 weeks a year that they're very uncomfortable. Reya Mazle La Malchus Beis David. So tonight is Shiva Assar. Starting tomorrow morning, he's not going to marry you for 3 weeks. And he's not going to wait 3 weeks. So he's going to tell you today, Adar Ya, Adar Nish, because tonight is the last possible night to get married. Ayin be'igrois Moshe. Are you allowed to get married the night of Shiva Assar B'Tammuz? B'diavad, yes. Boaz married Rus the night of Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. Who was conceived that night? Oived. Oived. Oived was conceived the night of Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. Malchus Beis David began to flourish the evening of Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. That's interesting, says the Chassam Sofer, because we know that there was another event related to the Semicha of the Malchus Beis David that's very much intertwined to this period of the year. And that's Tisha B'Av. Remember we mentioned that there are 523 hours on the first part of the 3 weeks, Keneged the 523 prakim of the Mishnah. Because what happens in the 523rd hour? Mashiach is born. Noilad Menachem, the Medrash says. Mashiach is born in the 523rd hour. Says the Bnei Yissaschar, Davar Nifla. Throughout Shas, whenever the Gemara talks about some of the activities of David HaMelech, the Gemara says, Kol Omer David Chata, Einoi Elatoya. Anyone who says David sinned is making a mistake. Who always comes to defend David HaMelech and explain why David didn't really do an Aveira? So the Gemara says in Shabbos, if you look at number 12, Amar Rav Shmuel bar Nachman, Amar Rabbi Yonasan, Kol Omer David Chata, Einoi Elatoya. Amar Rav, Rebbe da'asi mi David mahapech v'darish b'schusei de David. Rabbi Yehuda Anasi was a descendant and the direct descendant of David. Throughout Shas, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi always comes to the defense of David HaMelech. Says the Bnei Yissaschar, while everybody else feels tremendous pain and tragedy on Tisha B'Av, but what do Chazal tell us? Chazal say that if somebody passes away in the family, Yidagu kol hamishpacha, noilad ben zachar, nisrapa kol hamishpacha. That if someone passes away in a family, the whole family should worry. The moment there's a male born in the family, everything is cured. Whose family did Rebbe come from? Rebbe came from the family of David. Every Tisha B'Av, while we're all mourning on the floor, we're all sitting on the floor, Rebbe senses in his soul the Nisrapa Kol HaMishpacha, because Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av. So while all the Tanoim never would touch Tisha B'Av, Rebbe wanted to be Oiker Tisha B'Av because Rebbe sensed in his soul that there's some kind of tzemicha, some kind of fruition, some kind of flourishing of the Malchus based David on Tisha B'Av. It's amazing. In that case, if Rebbe wanted to be Mevatel Tisha B'Av because Rebbe felt and sensed and was margish the Leda of Mashiach on Tisha B'Av, who knows? What do you think Rebbe may have done on Shiva Assar? Because after all, the Chassam Sofer taught us, Oved was conceived on Shiva Assar. Probably Rebbe would have wanted to bathe on Shiva Assar. That's exactly the other practice of Rebbe. V'rachatz bekroina shel tzipori b'Shiva Assar. It's Rebbe l'shitase. Rebbe wants to be Oiker Tisha B'Av. Rebbe was rachatz bekroina shel tzipori b'Shiva Assar b'Tammuz. But there was a third practice of Rebbe. Rebbe planted a tree on Purim. What's he planting the tree on Purim? I understand why he wants to be Oiker Tisha B'Av. He feels already the coming of the Mashiach ben David. I understand why he wants to bathe on Shiva Assar. It's the conception of Oved. What's he planting a tree on Purim? I'll tell you something very interesting. Chazal tell us that after the miracle of Purim, Mordechai went to the mint in Persia, and he minted coins. And whose picture was on the coin? Mordechai's picture was on the coin. Yatzaloi moinitin ba'olam. Mordechai minted coins. Frekt Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz. By the way, we're going to be at his kever also in a few days. Frekt Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz. What's Mordechai doing minting coins? He wants kavod amaduma? I mean, you think Reb Chaim Kanievsky, if you asked him, Reb Chaim, whatever you want, I'll give you, anything, make a request. Do you think on Reb Chaim's top 10 list would be, I want the next stamp in Israel, the next coin in Israel, to have my picture on it? With my father and my son and the whole collection now. You think Reb Chaim would want that? Reb Chaim said that's the last thing Reb Chaim Kanievsky would want is his picture on a coin. What's Mordechai doing minting a coin with his picture on it? Says the Rebbe Rabbi Yonasan very pashut. Mordechai understood that in order for the Geula to come, they need to build the Beis HaMikdash. And in order to build the Beis HaMikdash, who do we need to destroy? Amalek. And in order to destroy Amalek, what do you need? A melech. Gimel mitzvahs netztavu Yisrael k'shenichnasu la'aretz. Lahamid melech, ulahachar zar shel Amalek, v'livnois beis hamikdash. Mordechai said, in order to bring the geula, we need to eradicate Amalek. In order to destroy Amalek, we need a melech. So who's going to be the next melech? Me! And this will eradicate Haman and Amalek completely. In fact, if Pinchas Karatzer writes, you know what Purim is? Yoima de Shaul. It's the day of Shaul. Where through Esther and Mordechai, Shaul had a tikkun for not destroying Amalek. So King Mordechai is parading through the streets as the Melech, now being empowered to destroy Amalek. So I ask you, if Mordechai is the Melech, and Purim is the day of Shaul, you think everybody's comfortable on Purim? You think everybody feels confident and comfortable and is proud of Purim? Say, of course, Purim is the happiest day of the year. Really? Look in the Shemona Esrei. There's something called a Kroivitz on Purim, written by Rebbe Lezer HaKalir, a Tana who would go up to Shamayim and ask the Malachim how to compose it. And he composed the period for every single bracha of Shemona Esrei on Purim, with one exception. As Semach David. So some would say, some Achronim write, you know why not as Semach David? Because Vishalayim Mircha and Semach David is one bracha. Says Reb Pinchas Karatzer, nice try. You know why there's no Kroivitz on a Semach David? Because there's one family that says, let me know when Purim is over. The same way Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi did not make a Masechta for Chanukah, says the Chassam Sofer, because the Chashmonaim usurped the Melucha. So therefore, Rebbe said, you know what? Chanukah is a beautiful Yom Tov. We'll give you a couple blad and Shabbos in the Gemara. But there's no Masechta Chanukah because you took away the Malchus of my Mishpacha, Mishpachas David. Therefore, when Purim comes around, the family of the Malchus Beis David says, you know what? Shaul, you can have your day. Let me know when it's over. I'm not giving you a kroivis for a Semach David Avdecha Meheros Atzmiach. That's why in Hoshana Rabbah, the day of David, in Rebbe Lezer HaKalir's Tefillah, where he mentions the zchus of anybody who ever did anything good, including Noach, including Gideon, Shaul is absent, because it's the day of David. On David's day, we don't talk about Shaul, and on Purim, we don't talk about David. So you know who's very uncomfortable on Purim? Rebbe's very uncomfortable on Purim. Rebbe gets a little uneasy on Purim. Rebbe says, you say you're a Semach David and don't say anything about Purim in my bracha. Comes Purim, the Gemara down on the page says, wait a second, what kind of tree do you plant on Purim? You know, I'll do malacha. Avarnuki shel malachim, the tree that kings plant to give them a royal ambiance of shade. You know what kind of tree Rebbe plants on Purim? Rebbe says, I want to get rid of Tisha B'Av, because David is born on Tisha B'Av. Rebbe says, I'm going to bathe on Shiva Assar because Oived is conceived on Shiva Assar. And all three practices of Rebbe are l'shitase, because Rebbe stands up for the Malchus Beis David. And Rebbe says, Mordechai, you're the Melech, and you have coins, and you have a kroivitz. Don't forget who the Malchus belongs to. And Rebbe plants Arvarnuki Shel Melachim on Purim. Yeah, it's your day, Shaul, but the Malchus belongs to me. Ayin Baharios, Kugoin Rebbe, is he chayiv to bring the soyer of the Melech? Rebbe held he was a Melech. Lahalacha. The Gemara said Rebbe would bring the soyer of the Melech. Three practices of Rebbe, I believe they're all l'shitase. Rebbe wanted to be Oikar Tisha B'Av. Rebbe planted a tree on Purim. The Rebbe Rachatz. What does Rachatz mean? To bathe. In Lashon HaKodesh, it means to bathe. And what does it mean in Aramaic? Be'ana Rachitz. In him I trust. Rebbe Rachatz. Rebbe trusted. Bekroina. I need to know he took a bath on a wagon in the glory. Shel Tzipori, Rashi in Parshas Lech Lecha says, who is the Tzipor? V'yasat Tzipor loy basar, zu Knesses Yisrael. Rebbe had faith in the glory of the Jewish people on Shiva Assar. Rebbe saw that even though this was a day of tragedy, even though this was a day of misfortune, even though it's a day of Shviras Haluchais, the same way Rebbe proclaims the Malchus belongs to us on Purim, the same way Rebbe says we're going to be Oiker Tisha B'Av, Rebbe had faith in the glory of the Jewish people on Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. So Rus comes to Nami, says, Nami, what should I do? How long is this going to take? She says, don't worry, Shavi Biti. There's another B'nai Yisachar. How many days of the 3 weeks in Tammuz? From the 17th, Tammuz is Chasar. How many days in Tammuz? Remember, what's the kavanah for the Yud Kei Vav Kei, the first bracha of Shemona Esrei? Tes Daled, 13. 13 times 24, 312. There are 312 hours in the 3 weeks during Chodesh Tammuz. So Nami tells Rus, Shavi BT, don't worry. The 312 hours of the 3 weeks of Tammuz, they're coming up right tonight. He's going to marry you tonight, or you don't have to worry about it. Moshe takes the luchais, and he breaks the luchais on Esav, on Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. And what happened when Moshe broke the luchais? The letters went flying off. The letters went flying off. How many letters went flying off? How many wet letters were on the luchais? Well, we know there's 620 letters on the luchais until Asher L'Reyacha. There's 613 until 620 total, 613 until Asher L'Reyacha. How many letters are the Aleph Beis, right? It says in Masechta Sanhedrin that Eicha goes by the order of the Aleph Beis. Aleph Beis Gimel Dalet Hey Vav. Why? Because Klal Yisrael sinned against all 22 Osiyos HaTorah, and therefore Yirmiyah had to sing Eicha. So Moshe broke the luchais, and the letters went flying off the luchais. It says Reb Tzadok HaKohen of Lublin. There are 22 letters that went flying off the luchais. So there are 22 days in the 3 weeks, because the 3 weeks were precipitated when Moshe broke the luchais, and the Osiyos HaTorah went flying off the luchais. The 22 letters of the Aleph Beis. But wait a second, Hagav Atzmacha. Are there really 22 letters on the luchais? On the luchais shniyos there are 22 letters. But the Gemara in Baba Kama asks, why doesn't it say Toiv and the luchais rishonos? It says L'man Yarichon Yamecha, and it doesn't say L'man Yitavlach. It says in the luchos shniyos L'man Yarichon L'man Yitavlach. It doesn't say Toiv in the luchais rishonos. So the Gemara says, really? Instead of asking why it doesn't, why don't you ask if it does? If it doesn't, the Gemara says, no, it doesn't. The Gemara says, if it would have said Toiv on the luchos rishonos, Chas v'shalom, Paska, Toiva, mi Yisrael. Heaven forbid, if Moshe would have broken luchos that had the letter Tes on it, and the letter Tes would have been broken for all time, we never would have been able to recover from that blow. So Yivon Hashem did a great eternal chesed for Klal Yisrael. He removed the word Toiv from the luchos. The letter Tes, says the Maral, represents all Toiva. Where's the first time the letter Tes appears in the Torah? Vayar Elokim es ha'ar ki Toiv. Ein Toiv ela Torah. The Tes represents the eternal light of the Torah. Had Moshe taken the luchos and broken luchos with a Tes on it, the Tes would have been broken forever. Chas Hashem, Paska Toiva mi Yisrael. So Hashem said, you know what? Let's take the Tes out of the luchos. Let's preserve it. So now Moshe is only breaking 21 letters. There are 22 days in the Bein Hametzarim, connected the 22 Osiyos HaTorah. But the churban of these 22 days is because Moshe broke the luchos that had 21 Osiyos on it. But one letter, the Rebbe Shem said, you know what? I'm taking it out. I'm not letting you break it. There's one day of the 3 weeks and one day that we don't even say Tachnon. And that's Tisha B'Av itself. Tisha B'Av is a Moyed. Even though now it's not a Moyed, even though now we don't celebrate Tisha B'Av, but we don't say Tachnon. Because like Rebbe, who understood already that it's the day of the Leda of Mashiach ben David, we too sense that there's something about Tisha B'Av right now that all of the Toiva, the Oyev Yisrael writes, the letter Tes, is the greatest Kli Kibble of all the letters of the Aleph base. Think about the Aleph base. What letter has a bottom and two sides and is open on the top with protection, that it's a Kli Kibble? It's hard to get in, but it contains within it all the Taiva. We have 22 letters of the Aleph base corresponding to the 22 days of the Bein Hametzarim, but one day was never broken. One day seems bad. One day seems tragic, but Rebbe saw that the Taiva is already Gonos B'Soicha, Bikesh, Rebbe, Lakar, Tisha B'Av. But the rabbi said, not yet, not so fast. You could plant your tree on Purim, waiting for the Malchus Beis David, and you could bathe and have faith in the glory of the Jewish people on Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. But maybe Tisha B'Av is a Moyed, but you have to wait for the letter Tes. The Maral writes, it says that a child, b'mei imai, loy hayu yamim toivim sheshruyin b'taiva. There are no other days that are immersed in taiva. Why, says the Maral? Because the 9 months of Leda are an immersion in the letter Tes. The mei imai is the ois Tes. And therefore in the ois Tes is loy hayu yamim shruyin b'taiva. And that's an ois that was never broken. It was preserved. And if the letter Tes corresponds to Tisha B'Av, then Rebbe says, Chas v'shalom, loy paska taiva mi-Yisrael. Ubikesh Rebbe la'akar Tisha B'Av. There are going to be 22 days in the Bein Hametzarim, but only 21 of these days are tragic even now. Only 21 days keneged the shaked, keneged the bayim. That's the Mako Shaked of Yirmiyah. But the 22nd day, the Ois Tes, Rebbe was makir that it's a moyed. We are makir it's a moyed. We should talk about Zoicha. The Tzoim Haravi is one of the only days in the Chumash that has the following name. Chag. There's only one day on the Jewish calendar that's called the following name. Chag. What day is that? Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. Really? It's the only day? It's the only day in the entire Tanakh that's given the Chag. There's Chag HaPesach. In the Mishnah, Sukkot is called Chag. But there's one day on the calendar that's called Chag by the Chumash. Who calls it a Chag? Aaron HaKohen. Klal Yisrael want to make the ego. You know what Aaron says? Chag Lashem Machar. Says the Chidah, Yesh Machar La'achar Zman. Says Aaron HaKohen, tomorrow, a day in the future will be Chag. That's the Chag of Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. The happiest day on the calendar, according to the Torah Shabbat. Chag Lashem Machar. And therefore, when it comes to the 3 weeks, and it comes to the Tanesim, when Mashiach will come, it's going to be happy for Zevulun, for Naphtali, for Gad, for Asher, for Ruvain, for Shimon. But you know who can't wait for the Mashiach to come, and especially for the transformation of the Tzom Haravi, and the Tzom HaChamishi, and the Tzom HaShivzar? The Malchus Beis David. Yeh lebeis Yehuda, l'sasoin u'lesimcha u'lemayadim tayvim. Bikesh Rebbe Lakar Tisha B'Av, Rebbe Natan Atiyah B'Purim, V'rachatz B'kroina Shel Tzipori, B'Shiva Assar B'Tammuz. We should talk about Zoicha to see the fruition of the Navi, Zechariah, Tzom Haravi, Tzom HaChamishi, Tzom HaShviv, Tzom HaAsiri, Yeh lebeis Yehuda, l'sasoin u'lesimcha u'lemayadim tayvim, v'ha'emes v'ha'shalom ehavu. Thank you so much.
Shem Yirgin Shir like to give a big yashikayach to Glatstein, inspiring drasha. I'd like to give a big yashikayach to Moshe Weiss for sponsoring tonight's shir. Obviously, you can have the great schus of sponsoring one of these shirim, have the buses to the Rabbi by calling Yirgin Shir at 718-851-8651 or email tapecenter@yeshivanet.com. CDs of tonight's show will be available shortly. There's a kerch to everyone for coming. Kanani ben Akashem Rotsa Kadishboch Lazaki says, "So figure him to Torah mitzvah shenem alei nech hafez aman tzidkoi yagdol Torah v'yader."